All right, YouTube, live. We're going to do a little bit of live here, like I said earlier in the week. Actually, going to follow through. Tactical Tony has inspired me. He just got off a live by the fireside, so I thought I'd follow up from his one, and we'll, like the title says, want to get into kind of what I'm really taking away from this whole Hurricane Helene situation and what I saw from what people had ready and what they're able to utilize and what they weren't, and some other situations. Some things, some things are, blatantly obvious that we've talked about, and other things that we haven't talked about. So, it is what it is. So I'll give us a minute to warm up. We'll see who drops in here, and what is it, Thursday night? We'll see what happens on a Thursday night. Hopefully, it won't take too long. We'll give it 30 minutes, standard live stream. What's going on, Steve? The Corsair trainer has jumped in. Good evening. Bob, what is going on, Bob? I haven't seen you in a minute. I mean, I know I know you're up in Northern Arizona, so it's good to see you, Bob. I didn't know you were still around. Are you still making videos? I haven't seen a video from you in a minute. But hopefully everything's going well up there as well in the high desert. So hope you're doing well. You're probably getting snow. We got a little bit of snow around here and whatnot, but it's getting that time of year. We'll probably have second, third summer here any day now, and before we get more snow. What's up, JJ? I'm sure JJ's got snow. They got snow in the all the way down into I think northern Georgia even got snow. So I'd imagine JJ's probably doing good on the snow. But we got a whole crew checking in here on a Thursday night. Was this a regular Green Dragon night? Was Thursday night one of the Dragon nights? Seems like we got the crew coming back. We got a Green Dragon video coming out this weekend. Might have a Green Dragon video coming out. Check that out for old time's sake. No snow from JJ. What's up, Boneyard? The legend. What do you mean back? I didn't go nowhere, Boneyard. What are you talking about? You mean you're back? You're the legend. You're the legend that's back. Is that what you're saying? But it's good to see everybody. I guess we'll go ahead and roll into this. So the everything in Helene and what I saw, and just to take on board for me personally, and kind of change in mindset. And right off the bat, the biggest thing, and I kind of hinted at this in, I think it was the second video I did, talking about how everybody had prepared for a worst case flood being the 1940 example. And obviously that's, a good 80 years ago. So it's one of those things like it's never worse. It's never been worse than this until it gets worse than that, right? Um, so I think the big thing to take away from that is it always can get worse. How it happens, even natural disasters, how it happens, um, it could happen. It could very easily happen. Like the 1940 flood was pretty significant, just rain event, right? And then this thing happens in a really quirky way where the hurricane hits at just the right point coming in from the south to bring up the Gulf water and brings up the ocean over water from the ocean across. And so just as an example, like thinking about our prepper pyramid, right? And the Midwest prepper pyramid as we know it. Your worst case stuff at the top of that pyramid that could happen. If you're in an earthquake zone, tornado alley, like all those worst cases. I mean, how bad can an F5 tornado get, right? I guess in some cases, the worst case is pretty much your house blows up, essentially. But in my mind, thinking about big flooding events here, we had some pretty significant flooding in 2017. And there's historical record from uh, the old Samuel Clemens when Mark Twain was here, and they had the big flood in the 1800s of it being how bad that was then. And so taking that on board and like, well, what's the next level above that? And then my whole mindset goes back into. Um, so I've often said um, in past iterations that my only two bug out plans are nuclear war and Chinese falling from the sky. And I think I have to add certain flood events can cause me to have to leave. And I'm going to have to rearrange when the trigger would be because it can get cut off pretty quick. If it got to that point, like just like when what happened there in Asheville in particular, and some of these a couple other small towns, the exits were washed out and there was nowhere to go before they realized it was time they needed to go. That's what happened in a lot of places. It's never been that bad. So why would I leave? And before they know it, the access in and out's cut off before, and then it's up to their house and they can't. There's nowhere to go. That happened in a lot of places. So taking that on board and understanding that and understanding, okay, I've got access here and there. Where's the high ground? Can you get to the high ground if it gets that bad? Especially if it's a rain event, which a snow melting snow event that comes out of the mountains that floods the rivers is going to be too slow moving, and I can adjust to that. It's the big rain event on top of snow um, that really can cause the washouts and some of the surrounding road zones. So that's what I'm thinking about, and I'm having to add that scenario to my get out of town plan, right? So that's something that I've changed my thoughts on as far as bugging out goes, just seeing what happened and how that happened. And there could always be more water. Like I said before, if you don't think God can flood the earth in 40 days, you didn't see what happened in 24 hours there. So just taking that into consideration with planning and knowing some things there, especially with bug out. Um, my second point was um, I talked about communication with donations and being able to communicate into zone. But if you have not got your communications now, you've got to get your communications devices now. Talk to a couple people who had been talking about community. It's just one of those things. Like it was on the list of things to get. I was planning on getting com. Or another example, I have a CB. It's just not hooked up. Um, you got to get that stuff. You got to get your com stuff set. It, you got to have at least your stuff programmed. If you haven't got com gear, you got to get it. Like now, do that. Do not pass go. Do not drink Starbucks. Do not go to Jack in the Box. None of the things. Get your com stuff set. Because when you need it, you're going to need it and you're not going to have it. It's going to cause a lot of problems. And the bigger thing in this case, in a lot of cases, it's just communicating internally with family that, well, they're just right down the road until they're not right down the road because the road's not there. Um, that mindset caught a lot of people off guard, I think, with, the calm is for, this worst case and for these certain scenarios instead of the basic. I just might have to talk to somebody down the road that I can drive to almost, or drive or walk to on almost any normal scenario that you can think of, including, heavy snowfalls. I can still get there. In this situation, no calm. Didn't have it ready because they had delayed, they'd put it off, thinking of calm is important in all scenarios. And I was kind of, I guess, surprised but disappointed, but not as surprised, I guess, as I wasn't that surprised, but a lot more people without calm than I expected. Um, so hearing those stories where, yeah, we didn't have calm, we didn't have a way to communicate for several days with people that they kind of needed to rely upon at some level or another, definitely put me in just putting that message out. Make sure you got your cum stuff ready to go now. Uh, get it in place. No matter how old it is. One example is like a 30-year-old CB. Like set it up, get it set up figure your stuff out. Don't delay in that. Like calm can be important tomorrow and you just don't know it yet. Um, so that was one thing. Just hammer away at, and you know, so many things go wrong when you don't have calm. So many things go badly, um, and you know you can have pre-established plans, and you can have pre-established go-to points, and you know we're going to do this if you got a no calm plan. But having calm makes everything else go better. It helps your worry level, especially if you're talking about internal family communication, even internal neighbor communication when you're relying on people. Calm makes it all the better. So get your calm stuff. Have I beat that dead horse enough? Yeah, too many examples that I heard and saw the results of. Like, gotta have your calm stuff set up. It's basic. It doesn't take a lot. The Bofangs we've beat to death on how cheap and easy they are to put up and set up and program. It's basic beginner level computer stuff that just get it done. Just get it done. So I will get off that soapbox is off on that point. Another thing, I talked about the stress the other day, and definitely have to double down on your planning and your training on the basic preparedness stuff. I think it's something to definitely take on board of doing the little things every now and then to kind of get a better idea of what the process is going to look like. You know, when I talked about, having to work all day and then come home to get hot water on the generator so you could get cleaned up, so you could just feel halfway decent about yourself. Going through scenarios like that, at least at some point, we get an example of this coming winter. Um, what's a no heat plan? Like if there's no regular heating source is out, how we're going to go through that for more than a day, because um, after a day, you can get through it. You can get through a night, with just some blankets and stuff. But what happens in extended time when you're having to go out into the cold? You got to come back inside, re-warm up without your normal heating sources. That type of stuff is going to have to be looked at. And I think I need to, in particular, that heating portion for me is I'm going to take on for this winter to figure out some things. Um, Generators are very useful. Generators, lots of generators were put to use quickly. Not everybody had one, but it was pretty easy to get a hold of one, and it worked well for everybody that had a generator. So the one thing though is make sure your generators are maintained. Um, Last time we ran our generators was July or August, so I'm not too concerned with that. But keeping the resources like that, the maintenance of things like that, that might get put on the back burner uh, because of priority. If you have something that is a redundancy, that's a backup, you got to make sure it's maintained. There were cases of maintenance becoming an issue after the first or second day of running in these scenarios, and people having to really scramble to keep their generators running. Not just getting the fuel, but maintenance, all the parts and things that go with the generator. So definitely taking that on board, a reminder, kind of putting at the top of the list of maintenance of things like generators, backup systems. I don't know if solar generators require any maintenance, but I'm sure everything does. Checking on some things. Uh, Definitely heard that message that, you know, maintenance isn't an issue till it's an issue. You can run your generator for 1 or 2 hours, on for any certain particular thing, in the regular situation, a regular everyday situation. When you have to run it after 2 days, you really start to see where the issues are. So maybe, doing that test of your generator to see what all the parts are, belts, I guess, things like that that go on some of these generators, depending on what you have, um, could be important. Is very important. So we think about generators running, minimizing their use to a certain extent, but also think about the maximizing their use because you're doing all the things with it. Because you're recharging things, you're powering tools, you're powering systems, refrigerators and stuff, while still also trying to heat things all at the same time. And these generators run that long, it's really going to put some wear on them. So check your, um, especially if you got an older generator. Something that I did find out also on that take on board, and I'll have to look at how much this is going to run and how this is going to work. But there is a generator system that you can run off of a tractor PTO. So your attachments that go to your back of a tractor run off of the drive shaft on the back, and that can be hooked into a generator system that is it's almost a whole house generator. And so if you got a tractor and I didn't know this. I didn't know this thing existed. It's just a generator plug-in that plugs into that PTO, and you can run that to just about anything in your house. I can't remember the wattage and stuff that went with the one example, but they can be stepped up or down depending on the size of your tractor. I found that very interesting. I have got to get looking into that because that's a better than a generator. It's gonna be louder. So I mean, obviously, tactically speaking, in the other certain WROL scenarios or other things, it may not be the most quiet, but it'll get you through anything like this. Um, so look into that. If you have a tractor, and I don't know how small a tractor it can hook up to, anything with a PTO attachment where that you can run accessories off of the back of a tractor is what it runs off of. So as however small a tractor you can get or may have, you just got to get a compatible generator attachment. I can find some more information, but I've got to look into it myself. Again, I just saw it and I was like, oh, whoa, look at this. I figured somewhere along the line I would have seen something like that somewhere else. I don't know why I haven't seen that before. Or maybe I've seen it, I just didn't click. But seeing that generator attachment to a tractor like that was definitely next level preparedness uh, tip, I guess. All these, I mean, of all the preparedness channels like Southern Prepper One, Prepper Nurse, Prepared Homestead, none of these. I've never seen anybody talk about a generator attachment that gets hooked up to a tractor like that. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Maybe I just missed them all. So, but definitely gonna look into that. Got to see how that works and if that's a pretty solid option, especially if it can run as much of a household as it looks like it can run. Um, so take that on board if you haven't, and just I'm letting you know what I know because I that's all I'm still learning about that one. That's really shocked me. That's like, man, I've been missing out on the game. Farmers been holding out on us. So there's that. That's a huge. That's probably the top three. And the comms thing is something uh, that we just harped on that I just wanted to highlight. It's like let's beat that to death. Um, the uh, the other thing, and I've talked about the community coming together and kind of community helping community, and I think everybody's seen the results of some of the other stories coming out from everything that went down, and I would just highlight that Nate look closely, study your community and where there's going to be people in your community that are going to help. I think, the Appalachians are an exemplary example of neighbor helping neighbor. It's like at the highest level that you could probably get in a disaster scenario, um, where everybody's pitching in and helping each other. But really look at what your level of help is going to be and also what the expectation is for you to help other people or what you can provide because You just never know how it's going to play out. You don't know who is going to be impacted depending on what happens, right? Especially some of the sporadic nature like tornadoes and stuff like that. You just don't know how that's going to play out. So definitely look at your neighborhood communities and who your strengths are that you think you can go to now, and those and converse with them. Try to be neighborly. See, that's who you want to align with. That's who you want to be your trusted partners. You want to find now, and make sure they know they can trust you, because a lot of these churches, everybody looks at them like, well, they're pretty sure they can trust them, but can they trust you? They're not going to go somewhere if they're to help somebody unless they think they can trust you, because they're not going to expose themselves uh, to sort of any sort of harm or danger, uh, even though they're going to go out in the best will they can, but they're not going to put themselves out there too more than they know they have to put it that way. Um, so find your trusted community partners and know that you know who they are, and that they're as trustworthy as you think they are, or that they know that you're not just some lone wolf psychotic guy out there by yourself, or whatever the case may be. So look at those things, and that's kind of really the highlights that I wanted to throw out there, and kind of some things I'm taking and running with, if you will, moving forward. That when you see it firsthand, it really has a different effect than when you see it on YouTube or on the news, even. When you talk to people face to face and you see, and you're talking to people that have a similar mindset and have been doing the things for years, on years even, um, to see the things that they latch onto and the things that they really communicate as like, well, this should have went better and it didn't because of this. So what do we need to study on, and we should have worked more on being better at the beginning. So let me look in here and see what kind of questions we got. William Bailey, Henry, repeating arms, like the whole company. Yeah, I think of modes that don't require transportation. That's true. I mean, if you obviously bikes and stuff, if you can get around in it, it just depends on the situation. Tom Brady, the quarterback, checked in. That's interesting. Uh, Boneyard has 3 cache spots in all different scenarios: cache and flood, avalanche, or tsunami. Oh, avalanche, flooding, and tsunami can really throw a wrench in your plans, right? I mean, yeah, it's good to know what your weaknesses are, right? Um, what's up? 5150 says if you follow Carl the Madman, he's going to. Okay, yeah. Oh, you're going to be on there, Bob? Yeah, I've been trying to catch Carl's stuff. He was just had a live, what, 2 days ago? His schedule's been it's so up and down, and like half the time it's like I'm not even settled in at home yet before he starts something. Jay Ufum, what is up? Cindy M, hey, how you doing? Team Flash X, we are doing all right. I think we briefed that up. JJ's had 4 frost. Yeah, it's early. We're supposed to have we have a freeze warning in effect tonight for us, as a matter of fact. Life's been insane for Bob. I think not a lot of questions. Okay. All right, let me go the other way. Good to see Jay Ufum. Haven't seen him in a long time. Boneyard's going to use telepathy and smoke signals for your comm plan. I mean, smoke signals can work. I mean, look at Somalia. Certain smoke can mean certain things. It may not be a totally detailed message, but still a message of some sort, and it can be dual purpose, obscuring the enemy, things like that. JJ only had 150 inches of snow last year. So weak. Movies about gladiators. Interesting. Winter is coming. Winter always comes, says JJ. That's right. Anybody watch the Comet? Everybody seen the Comet this last week? It's kind of a cool thing to see. I remember we saw Halley's Comet growing up. It's kind of different. This is a little different, a little more visible. Alien invasion, is that right? uh, the alien invasion. No one is, unless you have a 40-watt plasma gun ready for the alien invasion. Yo, Nickel, what is up, Nickel? How's the stacking going? Get your shopping done by Christmas, says JJ. Good to see you, Nickel. That is why women find tractors sexy. Oh, right, Nickel? Yeah, that generator thing on the tractor thing really put me on a, that's like definitely a next level prep. And anybody that's got any type of property should have a tractor. Where's Bikes and Bullets? He's kind of got a new tractor. I wonder if he's onto this case. He's got to look into this too. He's been putting all kinds of videos out and using his tractor. Get that generator set up going. Good to see you, Bob. We'll see you later. Alaska Prepper. Alaska Prepper what? Has a generator on his tractor? I haven't seen that if he has. Are we making up names here, Aaliyah? Rooster, what is up, Rooster? Good to see you on Tony's chat, Rooster. Tony passed out. Is that what happened? I thought he shut it down because it just kept spinning on my end. So I just checked out and started this. I had planned on doing something concerning the hurricane deal and flooding, so I thought I would ride his coattails into the sunset. You know how that goes. But I don't know if he lost. Sometimes when you shut it down, it'll just spin for everybody. I don't know how it works, but sometimes it seems like when Tony shuts it down, it just spins on the viewer end, and he's checked out, and closed it on his end. So I don't know how that works, or he's losing signal. Sometimes you'll lose signal; it'll spin for a long time, and you won't know you're not transmitting, and he's still talking maybe, but it shuts down the signal as a broadcast at some point, and before it cuts out. All right, Corsair. Good to see you, Steve. Stay safe. Plan and train some more, right, Corsair? Sometimes the gov won't let it shut down. Is that what happens, Nickel? I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the gov was running the YouTube algorithm chats and stuff. But yeah, so that's my big things from the hurricane, from what I heard firsthand from people, and definitely think about your scenarios and what the worst case really could be, because just really look at it as what is really the worst. What could be worse than the worst thing you've heard in your area? So what's the next layer up, and prepare. Maybe think about preparing a little bit for that as your, and again, focus on what's local to you. Don't do alien invasion or whatever, but the flooding, your F5 tornado, your bad earthquake, like, a bad earthquake, you know 8.0, nobody's really had a 8.0. Just think about how bad that could be with wherever you're at, especially California, Rooster, right? Rooster down there. um, what happens when that earthquake gets big enough to be worse than the worst one in your lifetime, right? And it gets to the next level, like the amount of destruction, cut off, the amount of things just messed up, and what you're gonna have to deal with without for longer and stuff. Um, Definitely look at that as what you think you might need to do, or what won't you be able to do in those situations that you had planned on. So I would definitely look at all those scenarios. The Yeah, earthquake, tornado, flooding, wildfires. I mean, we all know, especially out here in the West, like these wildfires are definitely getting next level. What happens? I'm gonna have to look at that, because I've kind of discounted wildfire as being like, it's not really going to affect me. It'll be up on the mountains where the big trees are, and it'll go down, and it kind of doesn't really do much in the valleys because there's not enough uh, vegetation and stuff to really go through a valley. But then what if it gets big enough and enough wind, and then you start thinking like, well, it could. And like we had that Davis fire last month, all it could have took was a little bit more wind on a certain day, and it could have got really bad in a lot of houses there. So just trying to rethink that and like, okay, if that is going, what do I do? And I have prevailing winds, so I know which way the direction of the wind's going to come from. So I could kind of play that scenario out. But if it gets really worst of the worst, the bug out is the last ditch. But what are some more preventive steps I can take to can prevent it from really affecting me? Right, JJ, the Fukushima, and that caused the whole tsunami and everything. That was a next level disaster that caused another disaster on top of the disaster, right? The earthquake, the tsunami, and then the nuclear side, like three disasters in one. Like, yeah, really get your mind working, especially if you live next to anything that could be affected like that. Man, so think about what's surrounding you that could affect you from, because if there's a big earthquake like up in the Sierras and Mammoth Mountain kicks off, the volcano Mammoth Mountain, like that's a disaster on a disaster, right? And you don't want to say that, oh, it's just you don't want to just discount it just because it is so bad, because that's one thing when you think about some of these scenarios. Um, you're thinking about so bad, like, oh, it's hard to comprehend. Just really focus in on what it really could do to you. Maybe not your property directly, but affect the services getting in, your ability to resupply, your ability to just provide for yourself. Really think about that stuff if those things compound on top of each other. Like in the mountains right now, they just had the hurricane, had the flooding, now they're having snow. So there's a lot of people out there without good shelter, without good heating sources that are really struggling, and they're having a hard time getting heaters to everybody. And they're doing what they can, but getting heaters and the right clothing to everybody that needs it seems to be a challenge. Um, but think about that. If you lose your shelter, you lose your clothing due to flood or whatever, and then you have to deal with the cold. Like, that's a survival skill. You're going to basic level survival skills at some point in some of these scenarios. And do you have those skills and abilities, to deal? Yeah, and Yellowstone. Yeah, Yellowstone's a whole different thing too, right, Nickel? That's like the big kahuna of all big kahunas, right? That's another one we don't like to think about because it's so like, well, it's over with. It's over with for a lot of people if that goes down, right? But you know, I think I'm on like the outer edge. If it was to go and the winds blow a certain way, we could get it affected. But mostly the prevailing winds at Yellowstone is going to be to the east southeast. So um, we could catch plume, but it's not going to be nothing like it's going to be out east when that goes if that goes off. Um, yeah, it's right, JJ. The Washington and Oregon of volcanoes. Mount Adams is the most recent story I saw about that. That has been the one of the least active of all the old volcanoes up there, and it's getting a little tremors and stuff going around Mount Adams up there. So that's always the Mount St. Helens scenario. You could always get a volcano, but hopefully they're not massive. But for me in particular, Mammoth Mountain is the biggest concern here where I am. But yeah, definitely if you're near or downstream of one of those others, always take that into consideration. Yeah, Nickel, you're talking about Yellowstone, half the states. Yeah, more than half, really. I mean, it's going to affect all of Idaho, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, all through Colorado, then east, everything east of there uh, is going to be in really bad shape. But you never know, right, JJ? Yeah. So I just want to throw that out there. Kind of went over time a little bit, but thanks everybody for checking in. Had a good crew tonight. Goodness. I guess Thursday night is the night to chat. If I ever want to chat, we're bringing back Thursday nights. I didn't realize it was so popular. You got a lot of the old timers back in here. Good to see you guys. And yeah, just take it on board. just throw my thoughts out there because it's on topic and on brand and all those things. So just thought I'd share with you what I have personally taken away and learned, and thought that it'd be important for everybody to kind of reconsider some things if you haven't, and you know, continue to prep hard, live free. All right, you guys have a good one. We see you all later. If I can shut this thing down properly on time. All right.